All right, good. So we'll quickly start. I'll start by talking about SOP, what it should be. And I promise to read one SOP, one statement of purpose, and that's my wife's statement of purpose, which she just used, which she wrote last year. And then it's a very beautiful SOP. And one of the beauties is that she does not have that ICGPA. She does not have that, but what Nigerians who fall into that category who don't really have that ICGPA. I know I receive a lot of messages almost every day that, oh, can someone with tutu, can someone with who has just a, what do you call it now, um, an MPhil in during their master's program, can they get scholarship? And the answer is always yes. That's very, very, very possible. Okay, so basically, your statement of purpose, what they want to say, what your statement of purpose is meant to be, is to convey your interest in a particular program. Okay, now the admission committee, when they go through your statement of purpose, they want to see, does this candidate have what it takes to be in our department? We want someone who is interested in what we do, and want someone who has passion. So those are the things they want to see in your statement of purpose. So before breaking it down into components, let me just read my wife's statement of purpose. There are some parts I will just put XYZ because I don't want to mention names, but some very important parts you will see. One problem I've seen reviewing SOPs is that many people have problem with paragraph one. Many people have problem with paragraph one of the SOP, and that paragraph one is what talks about the your background, the problem statement, how you become interested, and is basically talking about. So I'll read a statement of purpose, and then we'll start talking about statement of purpose in itself, what the components should be, and then I'll allow Boluwatife to take us through journey applying to so many schools and the like. All right. So she has a topic, a statement of purpose. She wrote here that I was born and raised in Nigeria, a country where proper waste management is still a very big problem. This meant everyone is inevitably exposed to waste and contaminants in one form or the other. According to the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation data report, most of the highest ranked causes of death and disability adjusted life years in Nigeria are related to environmental risk factors. The adverse effects of these environmental contaminants on the health and well-being of the populace became of great concern to me. That's a paragraph one. Anyone reading this would know that, oh, this person is interested in environmental related issues. This is what a person wants to do. Okay. So people from YouTube are already dropping the question. It's not question time yet. Okay. Paragraph two. I became more passionate about the effect of environmental contaminants on human health during the 3 month industrial training program I underwent after my third year as an undergraduate student. One of our weekly routines was to test the quality of water samples across the water treatment plant. High level of heavy metals in water samples from the river has been detected using the atomic absorption spectrophotometric method. This was traced to indiscriminate disposal of chemicals and other toxic substances into the river, which is a primary source of water for many people in that community. This is just one of the many ways humans are exposed to environmental contaminants. So the next thing she did in the paragraph two is to mention how she became part of this thing, how her interest was developed, how she became interested in it, which was during our uh, internship program, industrial training program. In Nigeria, we used to have this industrial training, 3 months and all those stuff. All right, paragraph three. My research work during my bachelor's and master's program at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, was to explore other forms in which people may be directly or indirectly exposed to these toxic substances. I started by investigating the toxicity induced in aspartame an artificial sweetener, on the tissues, liver, kidney, and brain of Wister rats. Then I examined the toxicity induced by calcium carbide, an artificial fruit ripening agent, on the tissues of Wister rats during my master's program. Together with my colleague and advisor, we examined the protective effect of luteolin, a phytochemical against calcium carbide induced toxicity in the tissues of Wister rat. We investigated this toxicity that was induced in the tissues of Wister rats by examining some biochemical parameters, inflammatory markers, and histopathological results. From my master's research work, we are currently preparing a manuscript titled blah, 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 blah for publication. Now, what she went on to do in paragraph 3 is to talk about what she has done about her interests. She started mentioning that, okay, so I studied this is the research work we have done, this is what we have observed in that paragraph 3. So, paragraph 4. After the completion of my master's degree program in biochemistry at the University of Ibadan, I enrolled in a 3-month internship program with the Bioscience Unit of International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Nigeria. I applied for this program because of my passion for quality research. During the program, I gained experience in diverse research techniques such as DNA extraction, nanodrop, gel electrophoresis, polymerase chain reaction, ploidy analysis, and gene sequencing. Bulk of our research focused on plant, bacteria, and fungi DNA. Okay. Uh, Currently in Tallahassee, Florida, I volunteered with XYZ of Department of XYZ at XYZ University. Together with Professor XYZ, we are working on the cytotoxic effect of a coumarin on pancreatic cancer cells. I have also a good level of teaching experience. I've taught at various educational levels with English language as the medium of instruction. Now, why she's mentioning this is because it's for them to know that she's proficient in English language. Okay, so she had to mention the fact that she had taught students in English before, so they will know that she's also fit for being a teaching assistant. She's good enough to be a teaching assistant. She has taught before, she has the experience, and she can do that in English language. So in your SOP, you have to find a way of making this come into it, what you're writing. The last teaching position I held was at an advanced level college in Nigeria, where I was employed as a biology and chemistry lecturer. I also have experience mentoring undergraduate students. During my master's program, I served as a research assistant to my advisor, where I had the opportunity to co-supervise our undergraduate students during their research work. In search of an institution that will give me an opportunity to explore my passion for research and solve earth-related problems, I encountered the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences of FAMU, number one public university in the United States. I became so fascinated with the research facilities, funding opportunities, and fellowships that are available for graduate students. The novel research work in the area of pharmacology/toxicology, which is my area of interest, caught my attention. Also, I have the privilege to discuss with Dr. XYZ in person, and I'm so intrigued with her research work. I'm interested in working with her, particularly on blah, 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 the research work they are working on, and its genetic variant in MN-induced neuroinflammation. I also have interest in cancer research, so I am open to other opportunities which can come by participating in the lab rotation activity for first year students in the faculty. So she mentioned the major research work she's interested in, and she went on to say that I'm also interested in other cancer related research going on in the department. Okay, and I'm open to participate in the lab rotation and then open to whatever will still come so that she's not streamlined to a particular line and they tell her, oh, this person is not available for research for to supervise you and the likes. Okay, I think this is the last paragraph. Okay, I've actually read this part. Okay, I would love to be considered for funding available either through fellowship or as a graduate assistant. Owing to my array of experience in teaching and research, I believe I'm a suitable candidate for the program. I look forward to a favorable response from the admission committee. Okay, so that was how that ended. I'm not sure this is the final draft of our research, of our statement of purpose. I think she still wrote some other things, which is not, yeah, this is not the final draft, but this is just basically what our statement of purpose looked like. All right, so what should your statement of purpose look like? Basically, I can follow what she has written, but there's a part which is missing here, which I will also include. Number one, you want to demonstrate your passion. You want to demonstrate your passion for what you want to go and study. And I will break it down into paragraph. The paragraph one is about the problem statement. If someone is writing something down, you can write down paragraph one is about the problem statement. It's about your how you became interested in what you want to study. For example, in this SOP, she wrote the problem statement that in Nigeria, people don't dispose waste properly. There is the problem of waste management, which is still a very big problem in Nigeria. I mean, if you are in Nigeria, you know how big of a problem that is. Okay, so the problem of waste management. And she said the effect of this is that people throw things in water, people dispose waste anyhow, and there are contaminants everywhere. So, and this is a great concern because people are exposed to rivers. Some people drink from rivers. Some people use the water. Some people even swim in the water. Some people do so many things. And same rivers, all those stuff, people dispose waste in. So that's a problem statement. So you want to look at this, that what I want to study, what is the problem with it? What am I trying to solve in? Why am I interested in it? Another way paragraph one can come in is this. You may decide to talk about how you became interested in environmental issues or in whatever issue it is. For example, this what she wrote in paragraph two can also come in paragraph one. So for some people, what she wrote in paragraph two was that during her internship, what do you call it, industrial training in third year, she went to this place, water treatment plant, and then she experienced this, she saw that. That can be a paragraph one. So for some people, she had it as paragraph two because she had more to say in paragraph one. So you can say, oh, this is the problem I experienced. This is what I saw, or this is my experience. Some people's experience can be that while they were growing up, they saw people battled with diabetes, and then they became interested in diabetes, and then they saw this and that, and then and then they got interested in it. Okay, that may be the problem statement for some people. That may be how the paragraph one will be for some people. Some people, it will just be an event that happened when they were young. Maybe they saw someone broke his arm and then they became passionate and then they became interested in bone. Some people may be that, oh, they saw different things. It can be your experience. That paragraph one can be your personal experience. And of course, basically, you are trying to say there is a problem here which we have observed. And I think what I'm trying to study gives a solution to the problem. Your paragraph two basically should be what you have done about this interest, about this problem. You became interested in this, good. What have you done about it? Okay. So after you became interested, what did you do? Now, some people say, oh, the next thing I did, I studied so at the university. Okay, because I have passion, for example, they say I have passion for the environment. So I went to the university to study biochemistry and I started studying biochemistry. It's very possible. And then mentioning what you have done, you move on to mention the research you have done as a result of that. Okay. For example, many people in Nigeria will say, but I don't have research experience. I don't know what to write about research. So far, you have done something related to thesis, you have done anything related to what do you call it, your final year project and the like, you have research experience. You don't have to, doesn't mean that you have to publish. Okay, that's part of your research. And for example, what she wrote here, she has not published anything, even though they were preparing a publication at that time. Okay, but even if they had not prepared a publication, what she wrote about publication was just one sentence. We are preparing to publish so. That's just one sentence in the whole of this 2 pages SOP. In the whole of this 2 page SOP. So it's very possible to talk about your research experience even without publication. your BSc your BSc degree or whatever BA degree, whatever you do, you did what we call research projects, what we call projects in Nigeria. So you can talk about that project as part of things you did. You can also mention as some of the things you did. Some, if you did a research in the class, let's say you did a group work, and then you guys have to come together and then work as a group and to present something to the class, or to present something or write a paper and submit to the professor. You can write those things as part of your research experience. Some, if a professor asks you guys to review paper, to review whatever, to read some papers and come up with something, you can write those things as part of your experience. Okay, so the next paragraph, that paragraph 2, should talk about what you have done because of this your interest, or because of this problem you have observed. It should talk about what did you do about it. What did you do about it? So that's what your paragraph 2 should talk about. Now, the next paragraph, which is like a third paragraph, a fourth for some people, should be what is talking about uh, your, of course, your research experience. You can talk about that paragraph. Remember, you are talking about what you have done, where you have gone to study, if there are awards. The next paragraph should be talking about the skills you have acquired because of what you have done. The skills you have acquired. If you remember from my SOP, I was reading some of the things she said she has done after she mentioned the fact that they have done research on rats. You know, they spend a lot of money on those rats. We were together at the University of Ibadan then when she'll be going to the lab to feed those rats. I also fed those rats, those very hungry rats, very hungry rats. They had a lot of our money. They had all those stuff. Now, the next paragraph should talk about what are the skills you have gained, okay, or what are the skills you have, because the admission committee, they want to know, does this person have a special skill that um, that distinguished him or her? People from YouTube are already asking questions. Don't worry, we will give time for questions. Relax, okay? Relax, so that it won't be as if we are sidelining those on Twitter. Okay, so you want to talk about the where was I again? I was talking about the skills. They want to see, does this person have a special skill that makes him stand out? Remember, these days admissions, they are very competitive. They are very competitive. So they want to know, what special thing do you have? What is that special skill you have? So in that paragraph, you want to talk about the skills you've gained. For example, my wife here, she wrote the fact that she can do DNA extraction. She can do polymerase, all this polymerase chain reaction, gene sequencing. She wrote all those things, which she learned, okay, at IITA. Now, she didn't even learn that in school. Now, how she got into IITA, or why she decided to go into IITA to learn all those things, is even another thing on its own. She decided to volunteer. Okay, so your volunteering work can actually come into your SOP. So what my wife did then was, okay, they had this research experience from UI, this and that, not so good CGPA, not so good grade. And we said, okay, what else can we do? How do we make her competitive? We said, yes, next thing is to go and do volunteering work at ITA. And she did the volunteering work there, and she learned a lot of stuff. And she wrote those parts, some of those volunteering work in her SOP. Okay, so if you have programming skills, write it there. You can do program, you know Python, you know root, you can do root analysis, you can do whatever analysis. Mention those skills. Okay, you will hear some background noise. Those are my boys. Okay, those are my boys. You may see those on YouTube, may see them running around the house. That's the life we live here. Okay, as PhD dads. All right. So talk about those skills that you have. Talk about them. If you have won awards, if you have won awards, talk about those awards. Okay, it's very, very important. It's you are selling yourself to the admission committee. You are showing them that you have the skills, number one, and then you are very competitive, that you are an asset. If they get you to themselves, you are an asset. If you have won grants before, you are, for example, in my CV, you will always see the fact I will always write 3-time winner of so. I will write all the awards. all the stuff I've won, PDDS scholarship, University of Ibadan scholarship award. This is it. I will write all those scholarship in my CV. I will give those hints in my SOP too, so that they know that this person has value. This person will bring value to our university. So put those things there, all the awards you've won. I'm not talking about fashion parade award. Okay, that's not the type of award. I'm not talking about best couple award, award as of the best couple of the year in the department. Those are not the awards I'm talking about. Real award, for example, in University of Ibadan, we have the Dean's Roll of Honor Award. I won that 3 times. I put that there. I won the best 300 level student of the year. At the time, that's in my CV. That's in my statement of purpose. Different award. Just put it there. You want to show to them that I let me use pidgin now. Sorry for those who are not Nigerians. You want to tell them that I carry value. Like I'm valuable. That's just what you want to show them. If you are just joining, this space session is also ongoing on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, let me see. Uh, if you're on YouTube, you can actually join too. You can actually join too. If you want to ask questions, you can join and ask the question on YouTube. When I give room for questions, there are so many questions on YouTube already, but I will open the floor for questioning at the right time, and then you can ask your question. So you want to tell them that you have value. There is value attached to you, so that they know that this person coming to our department is valuable. So those skills, write it there. In fact, I was reviewing one CVs recently. I think the guy is from Ghana or somewhere, most likely Ghana. I think he wrote in his SOP, and I was, it was interesting seeing it there that he has uh, experience with graphics designing, and that it can help the department in designing graphics for conferences, for poster sessions, for whatever. And you know one thing, that's beautiful, because some of the things we do, even as a nuclear physics guy now, some of the things we do requires the graphics designing. You want to do poster presentation, you want to design your poster and make it look beautiful. You need those skills, those experience. In fact, recently I would have almost started using CorelDRAW to do some of the things I do. So when I saw it, I've never thought about putting graphics designing skills in an SOP. But when this guy put it there and the way he added it, I was like, wow, that's interesting. So you can actually put all those skills that you have there. It's very, very, very important, because you want to show to these guys that, see, I'm valuable. When I join your team, you are getting what do you call for it? You are getting value for it. Okay, that's what you want to tell them. You are getting value for it. Now, the next paragraph you want to go to, I think I'm on paragraph 4 or 5 now, is to talk about the university you're applying to. Okay, now you have talked about your passion, you've talked about your experiences, what you have done, you've talked about the skills you have. The next thing is to talk about the course you want to apply for and the university you're applying to. The question you want to answer is the question of why. Why are you applying to that university? Why are you applying to that school? So those are the questions you want to answer. And when I ask people, why do you want to apply to the university, the response I get most of the time is what is generally available online. Generally, they just say, oh, the teacher to student ratio is 4 to 1. The school is ranked number one in, or number 130 something in so. The school, those are generic to me. Those are general. Okay, those are general qualities. Any school can have a good ratio. Any school can. One of those schools are number 500 in the world. So you will tell the admission committee, I'm applying to your school because your school is number 500 in the world? No. So you want to be specific to the school and the department. And what I recommend to people is this: go to the school website, browse through the school website, the department website, look at their facilities. That's the number thing we want to look at. What are the special facilities they have for research? Okay, look at their facilities. What do they have? What do they have? What are the special facilities they have? You want to look at the research work of the professors. Look at the special research work that you are interested in. That can be a big motivation. Okay. Yeah, I know people write about diversity too, that it's a diverse school. They allow immigrants, or there are lots of different, there's people from different nationalities. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. But I prefer you going to the core, those big uh the core, those really big uh reasons, which will be the facilities and the professors. For example, when I was applying to FSU, I wrote about MagLab. I said MagLab is in Florida State University. The MagLab is the highest magnetic powered laboratory in the world. So I said, come on, who doesn't want to be in such a place where you have the highest magnetic powered lab in the world? So I wrote that in my SOP that I'm applying. One of the reasons I'm applying is because of these facilities which is present at FSU. And I also wrote that, yes, the research work of Professor so and so, I'm interested in it. These are just in line with what I've been writing about my experience, my about my interest generally. Okay, so I wrote that as a reason for applying to FSU, as a reason for applying to my school. So you want to write, you want to search through the website, look for their facilities, search through the website of each of the professors. You will see their specialties. Each of the professors, if you are able to access their website, you see the facilities that they have themselves. You can write about that Professor XYZ has this facility for this and that, and I'm interested in it because of that. I'm interested in this school because of that. Some of the reasons schools hire different professors is also because of the value the professors will bring to their school. And then professors attract students. So you can apply to a school because of a certain professor too, or certain professors. For example, what my wife wrote here, she wrote here about where she was applying to. She said, 1 minute, where she was applying to. Yeah. Okay. So she wrote about the research. Basically, that's just what she wrote. She generalized when it comes to research facilities. She said, I became fascinated with the research facilities. Okay, good. Funding opportunities and fellowships that are available for graduate students. Okay, so you can go through the website and you see lots of funding opportunities. Hey, this research funded by so grant, so grant, and you're like, wow, this school has so much grant. That can be a factor for you applying. Okay, so she mentioned that on a general sense. Now and then she mentioned particularly the research work she's interested in. That she said the novel research work in the area of pharmacology slash toxicology, which is my area of interest, caught my attention. Okay, so she mentioned the fact that there is this particular research work that caught her attention. And then she mentioned the fact that she had the privilege to discuss with the professor, and then discuss with the professor who is in charge of that particular lab. And then she was like, yes, this is what I want to do. But again, she mentioned that the fact that she will still be interested in participating in the lab rotation, so that she can also see what other professors are doing. So in choosing that school, you want to go through their website. You should be so familiar with the website. You should be so familiar with it, their research work. There can be a reason for you applying to the school. When you are just saying teacher to student something ratio, all those things are not strong enough, in my own opinion. Most schools in the US, you see, they have a good faculty to student ratio. Most schools they have. So what's distinguishing that school from this school? Okay, so you want something very strong, and then the last but not the least paragraph is where you talk about your future plans and goals. Okay, so after you already have this MSc, this PhD, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with your MSc, your PhD? What do you want to do with your life after the whole thing? So that is where you start talking about your plans. Oh, you want to be in the academia, you want to remain a researcher, or you want to set up your company. You know, many SOPs I've read, many people will say, I hope to come back to Nigeria to eradicate poverty. I'll say, oh shit. Only you want to eradicate poverty. So just talk about your future plans. You want to create an NGO for so. Yes, talk about it. You want to whatever you want to do, whatever your plans are, Talk about it. Many people talk about the fact they want to remain in the academia and they want to become a professor, they want to become a researcher. Some talk about the fact they want to go back to their country to work with government organizations to implement what they have learned. Okay, some people talk about that fact. Some people talk different things that people talk about. So your future plans, you put it there. And I also ask student people to always include there that they are also willing to be considered for assistantship. My wife wrote here, she said, I would love to be considered for funding available, either through fellowships or as a graduate assistant. She has seen on their website that they have a lot of fellowships. Okay. And said, please consider me for fellowship. So you should write that too. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is the fact that you can also include your work experience. Those areas where I was talking about um, your skills, things you have done before. You can include your work experience. I think that's paragraph 3 or so. You can include your work experience there. You can include your work experience and all those things. It's very, very important, especially when they are related to what you are applying for. All right. So let me say it again that I'm having recording this on YouTube. I've seen some questions here. Uh, some question asking will it be recorded. It's on YouTube. That's why I'm doing this live on YouTube too. Okay. You can always check it. Let me try and uh, place it. Uh, I'll try and place it here so that you all can see it. All right. Let me allow Boluwatife to talk about his journey um, on choosing a school before we take question on this application journey, because he has a very unique experience. In fact, before he started, when I received this message, then said I've had rejections. I'm like, okay, now we have to apply to a lot of schools. But I'll let him tell his story. So Boluwatife, you can unmute yourself and tell us your story.
Thank you very much, Salma. I must comment on your wife's SOP. That's really a good one there. Yeah, to everyone on this space, welcome, and it's really nice to be here today to finally talk about my story. Of course, through the help of Samuel Ajayi. Yeah, actually, I finished my undergrad in 2016. Yeah, and actually, the journey started from 2017. What I mean by the journey means I'm talking about the scholarship journey started in 2017 with Germany and MasterCard. Yes. So rejections. At some point, it was looking like as if I wasn't going to get it because the rejections were just too much. A couple of days ago, I was still checking my emails and just going through those rejections, and it was really a lot of them there. And at some point, I had to call them love letters because the way they word it is as if you can always move on. Yeah, but in 2021, yeah, that was application in 2020 against 2021. I applied to about 18 schools in the United States, and everything came back with rejections. Now, at that point, I was kind of down for a couple of weeks because you just keep getting rejection every day, like every day. You know, the mail keeps coming in, and it wasn't looking as if you were going to get something. There was even one I really attended an interview. I did a couple of interviews with the department with professors that I'm like really positive about it, but eventually it came with another love letter. So what I did was that I think in late 2020, that was December 2020. Yeah, I joined Samuel Ajayi's space on Twitter. Was it in Twitter or YouTube? Or no, it was a Zoom session actually. Yeah, it was a Zoom session. So he gave me the opportunity to talk about my challenges, and I told him that this is what I've done, this is what I've been doing so far, and he kind of gave me some insight on how to kind of package my application materials and some tips that would actually help me. So I started the journey very early in 2021. Yeah, that was around January 2021. So what I did was that, and I actually encourage a lot of potential or prospective applicants to do the same thing. I think you need to get a spreadsheet on your computer or laptop, whatever the case may be, and kind of go online and search for these schools, look at their requirements. And in my own case, what I did was that I checked the name of the schools, I checked their program, whether it's suitable for my area of research and all that. Then I checked their GR requirements, their English test requirements. I checked the application fee, just basic stuff. I probably looked at their commencement date, application commencement date and the deadline and all that. So I actually put everything on a table on Excel. So, and he actually made me track every one of my applications. So I usually encourage people to do the same thing and try as much as possible to get that, because it makes it easy for you to track your applications. Know the ones you've applied to, know the ones you need to send an email to follow up. Yeah, so it is important you do that. And what I did was I started sending cold emails to professors as early as January 2021. And, when people say this is like a whole job, I think, yeah, it is, because it was like my daily job. Even at that point, I was working in Nigeria, but I was always squeezing time during my lunch hours. Sometimes when I get home very late because of differences in time zones, I'll still try as much as possible to put together cold emails to professors. And I was actually sending on an average at least 5 cold emails every week. Yeah, 5 cold emails every week to different professors at different universities. So some would come back with positive, some would come back with negative feedbacks, but of course you keep moving. So through cold emails, I got a lot of professors that were actually interested in me. They wanted me to work with them. And not just that, as I was sending cold emails to professors, I was also mailing the grant courts, looking out for opportunities for application fee waivers. Yeah, so, and that really helped, because before, some schools have this policy that application fee waivers is first come first serve, where the earlier you contact them, the faster you get your application fee waiver. Because when you start getting to around September, October, sometimes they've already exhausted the application fee waivers, and they'll tell you that they are not issuing waivers again, and you have to pay. So you need to start the process earlier on. So as I was getting application fee waivers gradually from universities, and also getting some positive feedbacks from professors I was sending emails to, I also contacted my recommenders. So what I did was that I had done everything I had before the commencement of the application window already. So what I did was to reach out to these recommenders like 4 or 5 months ahead, before I started needing them to write recommendation letters for me or reference letters for me. So I had send them an email. Some I had to call them, some I had to text and tell them that, okay, at some point in this year, I'll be, probably needing you to help me write recommendation letters and all that. So I was able to get 8 recommenders, which a lot of them were, of course, faculty members from my undergraduate university. And I think I have about 2 other individuals that were actually my, supervisors and senior colleagues at my place of work. So I was able to get 8 persons, and I knew I was only going to apply to a lot of schools. So it was just very easy for me to kind of plan ahead for all those kind of things. So I got 8 people, and they told me they were willing to write for me, that as soon as I'm ready, I should let them know. So recommenders were solved earlier on, and of course, I was able to get waivers, like I said. So what I did was that I made sure I submitted all of my applications before November ending. This is my November ending. That was in 2021. Yeah, 2021 November ending. Yeah. So it was very difficult, because you need to write a lot of SOPs. And each SOP is kind of unique to each school. Just like what Samuel Ajayi said, you need to kind of talk about what actually interested you in that school, because that paragraph is very important. So it kind of make the admissions committee see that yes, you really want to be there, like you're really interested in their program. So SOP's writing took me about 3 months or thereabout, because it wasn't easy. It was like writing a different SOP every 2 weeks. So I think between uh, March and March and May, tending towards early June, I was writing SOPs all this period, because I'd already seen green lights from some professors, because some actually, just told me that, okay, yeah, I'm going to take you when it is time, just let me know, and then send me an email, probably reach out to me when the application commences, because I'd reached out to them far, far before the application window opened. So some of them told me that they're going to be taking new students, and then when the time comes, I can send them an email just to, put myself in their mind and probably let them know that, okay, yeah, I'm still interested in the program, which was what I did actually. So I started writing SOPs between March and June, early June precisely. And coupled with that fact, because of research experience, sometimes, especially if you are getting into a pool that is very competitive, you don't know basically, and that's why I usually advise people to apply to a lot of schools, because each application cycle the pool changes. So sometimes when I get rejections back in 2021, yeah, for 2021, I sent emails to grad codes to find out what really happened to my application and why I wasn't selected. Yeah, I did that because I just needed to know where I need to improve my application material. I need to improve what areas I need to work on. And sometimes some of them come back and, they kind of tell me that it was not as if my application was not solid enough, but the pool is very competitive. And some of them do numerical cutoff. They kind of do a way of calculating, and then if you don't, get to that level or to that expected score, you're automatically removed from the pool. So sometimes they tell me that, well, they had better candidates and I ranked low in the pool, and some will even tell me that I need to work on my research experience and, if possible, go and do more research and get some papers and all that, which was some of the things I worked on, because I actually reached out to a lot of my colleagues that we graduated together, and then we kind of formed a small research group, coupled with the fact that we had some undergraduate mentees back then when we were in school. So we're kind of pulling research ideas together and then getting papers out of it together. And every one of us were actually getting publications in the process. So it was more like a teamwork where you kind of assigned responsibilities to each member of the research group. Okay, you're going to develop the materials and methods for us. You're going to develop the introduction. You write about the conclusion, and stuff like that. So we did all of that, and then a lot of us got papers through that process. And yeah, when I had all of those things ready, I started mailing those professors again to, kind of tell them that, okay, yeah, um, I'm trying to submit my applications now, and I'm still interested in working with you. And I hope you could take me and accept me in your research group. So some of them at that point, some of them that have actually said yes before said, well, because of funding issues, they were thinking they're going to strike gold on a grant proposal. It didn't work out. They're not sure they're going to be taking students. Some said they expected some students to graduate, but they won't be taking any new ones until spring. A lot of things happened, and then some that actually said, well, I should reach out to them during the application window said, well, they were not going to take me again because of some financial challenges and all that. And some said, yeah, fine, that you just, put in your application and then send me your application number and some other details. Yeah, some gave me those green lights, and I just quickly submitted the application and all that. And then, yeah, I applied to 25 schools. I think my story has always been tweeted a couple of times by Samuel Ajayi, but I really appreciate that. Yeah, I applied to 25 schools and then I got 11 offers. Yeah, I got 11 offers and I got 14 rejections. Yeah, so I got 14 love letters basically, but I got 11 offers. 8 were fully funded. Got 8 fully funded offers. No, 9 fully funded offers. Sorry, 9 fully funded offers, and then 2 offers without funding. Imagine going for a PhD program and someone is telling you that, oh, we can offer you funding and you need to come around and pay for your fees. So that was a no-no for me. It was a red flag actually. So I didn't even feel bad because, and funny enough, those 2 offers without funding were actually the first set of offers that came in. So it was like, wow, okay. Initially, I didn't have any other offers. I was having rejection. Now, the offers are coming in, and then I'm getting offers without funding. So it was like, where is this heading to? But eventually, at some point, in January this year, yeah, so the offers with funding started rolling in gradually. So all in all, I got about 1,400 US dollars in application fees waived, and I only paid for 2 applications out of the 25 applications I made. So, and I just wanted to let prospective applicants know that it is possible for you to get funding, and it is possible for you to get admission offers. Sometimes it could be very challenging, but most of the time, there are 3 things that actually can make you stand out in your application. First thing is your SOP. In my interactions with a lot of professors here and even before I came here, they kind of emphasize on the SOP, which is an integral part of the application. Some even tell you that they don't really care much about CGPA. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Some will tell you that there are just 3 things they look at. They look at your statement of purpose, they look at your academic CV, because that captures your experience basically, and they look at your recommendation letters. In fact, I would advise you don't joke with recommendation letters because that speaks volume, especially for schools that do holistic reviews. They kind of look at the entire application materials altogether to kind of decide whether you are fit for their program or not. Some don't look at your CGPA alone, so they look at all parts of the application because I used to tell people there is nothing you can do about your CGPA. It is like permanent. So if you are with a 2.2, there's basically nothing you can do to that to change that because that is what you have. But there are some components of your application materials that you can change, that you can actually, you know, strengthen. One of them is SOP. Another one is your recommendation letters. So those 2 materials, you can do a lot of things with those 2 that would actually communicate you and make you, put you to them, pitch you to them as a better candidate for their program. So SOP is a way to really communicate and let the admissions committee and the department know that you have all it takes for the program, because sometimes we know how the story goes in Nigerian universities. Some people have challenges, and as a result of that, they have poor grades. And of course, there was nothing you could do about that because of the conditions and all that. So the other areas you need to write more and more so that those who actually make you stand out, because the pool is usually very competitive. For me to apply to 18 and get rejected by all the 18 shows how competitive it can be. And for you to be competitive in that pool, you have to, develop your materials to make sure that those materials will be competitive when they are being reviewed by admission committees. So, and another thing I suggest, and I also want applicants to work on is cold emails. It works like magic. At least for my own case, I have that first-hand experience. I can tell you that it works like magic because sometimes the schools will tell you that you don't need to reach out to faculty members. We look at all the applications, and then when you're admitted, you select faculty members or professors you intend to work with. Yes, that is the rhetoric, but the truth of the matter is that sometimes you put yourself one foot in when you have the backing of a faculty member already, or a faculty member that's already promised you that is going to take you in the research group. Because sometimes these faculty members are part of the admissions committee. So it was more like, okay, he already told you that he's going to take you in, and then he's part of those that will decide people that will come into the program. So automatically, you already one step in with that. Some of them will not tell you categorically in their response to your emails that they are part of the admissions committee, but I'm telling you that that's a leverage for you already, especially if that professor is one of the admissions committee. So it is advisable that you put your code email together and then send it to these guys, send it to these professors. If possible, some of them would want to, initiate a virtual meeting with you, and which is totally fine. So as to know the areas that you need to improve on, and tell you, probably communicate with you on their research project and their research group and all that, which is actually very fine. So, but it is an edge if you can actually start from the code emailing aspect. And then I wanted to talk about some things on the SOP, but I think Samuel Ajayi has already done justice to all of that. So maybe subsequent space when he's going to talk about recommendation letters and academic CVs, I can, probably contribute at that point. But those are the three areas that I feel, in addition to the cold emailing, I think those will really make you very competitive regardless of your CGPA. Because a number of schools will tell you, yeah, CGPA is just one part, the application materials, and sometimes to a lot of them it doesn't meet. And interestingly, test scores now are not really that important, especially for schools that are waiving it. Again, I see a lot of people trying to dodge application fees, trying to dodge test scores, trying to dodge whether GRE or TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo, whichever one. They want to dodge application fees as well. And yet, they are not ready to develop their materials to make themselves competitive. The truth is that for any schools that waive application fees for you, waive test scores, just know that you have a lot of people applying to those schools. And what that means is that it's going to be very competitive. So I'm not saying you have to go ahead and pay application fees for all the schools you're applying to. No, you need to look for waivers. But in as much as you are looking for waivers, if you have GRE, well, you could look for a school that will waive application fee for you. GRE will make it competitive if the school is actually, if GRE is a requirement for that school. And there are some that tell you that it is not a requirement, but I used to advise, if you have, just upload it. Yes, because they tell you, okay, English language is waived for applicants from this country. If you have that already, I'm not saying you need to go and write it because some of them are waiving it now, but if you've written it already, because they waive it does not mean you cannot upload it. So go ahead and upload it if you have it. When they are reviewing, I can tell you for free that sometimes it really helps. Other times it might not, but sometimes it really helps because admission committee, you cannot predict what they are looking out for. But I can tell you your SOP, your academic CV, and your recommendation letters, those three documents are very, very crucial. And those three documents can get you into a program of your choice, or if you probably didn't want them very well, just mess things up there, the chances of you being taken or being accepted into the program would be very slim, because those three components of your application would actually speak a lot about you to the admission committee. So I think, I've mentioned the fact that you need a spreadsheet. Yes, and just follow. If you have a pen and paper, I can just give you some of the schools I applied to, and some of the schools I know. If you put in your best shot, work on those areas I've mentioned, you're most likely going to get in. And maybe, like I said, subsequent spaces, because I believe Samuel and I should actually maybe pick these components one after the other and talk about them. So, to help people prepare their materials and the application documents and all. And maybe when the time comes, when people start getting feedbacks, how people start getting requests for virtual interviews from professors, we can also do a space on, how to respond or how to, put yourself forward when it comes to virtual interviews with proposed or potential faculty members. So you could check the University of North Texas. I think a lot of schools in Texas accept a lot of Nigerians, to the best of my knowledge. So you could check University of Texas. You could check um, University of New Hampshire. You can check West Virginia University at Morgantown. Yeah. I think that's also a school that I know a lot of guys there, and yeah, it's also a good one. You can check University of Missouri at St. Louis. Yeah, University of Missouri. You could check Michigan Tech University. I think that is already popular among a lot of prospective applicants. You can check New Mexico, both University of New Mexico and New Mexico State University. You could check Florida State University. You can check University of Mississippi. Wow, Audit. That is my school, by the way. Anyways, you could check University of Mississippi. You could check um, Mississippi State University. Yeah, you can check University of Alabama. You can also check University of Tennessee. Yeah, University of Tennessee. I think they kind of accept a lot of Nigerians and Africans. Yeah, I think then University of Kentucky as well. Now Kentucky has they kind of they accept a lot of people, so you can check that out. And I think the last school I've mentioned here is University of Notre Dame. It's actually a very good school, but yeah, love letter comes. I think I tried that school twice and I was given love letter. Yeah, so
It's
the
a
third
really
time
good
I did.
school. I've
So the
been there
third,
before.
yeah, so it's a very good school. The third time I didn't even bother to apply because it turns out that their program is usually very competitive. But sometimes you need to mix your schools.
And they
At the
actually have a
time,
lot of funding, actually.
yeah,
Notre
they do.
Dame, they have a
Yeah,
lot of funding because
they do.
they get funding from the alumni and others. A lot.
Yeah, they have a strong alumni, and then another thing is that the university is very, very competitive, but there are fundings for everyone. If you can get in here, they are funding. I think I have one of my professors that did his postdoc there, and he said a lot about the university. There are fundings, and then they kind of waive application fees for some applicants. So you can you can try that. You can try that. So I think that would be all I have for today. And another thing I would like to mention is to submit your applications before the deadline. Some of them have deadlines for December 1st, some have deadlines for January, but I usually advise students or prospective applicants or candidates to submit latest by November, maybe middle of November or November ending. I think that is preferable. In my own case, I submitted all my applications early November. I was done with all the 25. It was early November, yeah, because I was aggressively applying. So, and I've prepared all my documents. So it wasn't a case of having to develop documents and then, that would delay the submission process. So I developed all those documents months ahead. I developed the SOP months ahead. I already got approval for recommenders months ahead. I've reached out to team members months ahead. So it was like everything was planned, and I had my spreadsheet ahead already. So I looked at all of their requirements, and I knew that yes, what I have, I think I'll be competitive and I'll be able to get into this program. So I've done all of those assignments months ahead. So when it was just time, I was just submitting the applications. It made the whole thing very seamless and easy. So try to beat the deadline, because if you submit before the deadline, there are every tendencies that you will be considered for funding. Because most of the time, some of them do rolling admission process, in the sense that as you're submitting, they review and then they just decide the fate of your application. So if they fill their spots faster before you submit your application, you might not be competitive any longer. So I usually advise that submit your application before the deadline, because if you submit after the deadline, there are chances that they have a lot of applications already, and yours might not be reviewed. And even if it is reviewed, you might not get its funding spot. In such cases, that's why people kind of have the challenges of having to get offers and then there is no funding, because they've already filled all of the spaces for funding already. But they just, because you are kind of competitive in the pool, they won't, give you the offer and look whether, probably check whether you can come in yourself and, sponsor yourself for the program. So if you're looking for funding, you need to beat the deadline. And then for the recommenders, yeah, I said I used 8 of them. So what I did was I spread them across each application, so that you don't have one recommender writing too many recommendation letters for you. So each of them you can say, okay, this person is going to write for 5 schools, this is going to write for 5 schools. So you just distribute it, so that it's not as if one person is going to write about 10 recommendations for you. They are also busy people and they have a lot of things doing with their lives. And at some point, some of them will start telling you that it is getting too much. So what you can do is to probably assign the number of schools that you want this person to write for you. If you have 5, it means you could probably apply to about 18 or 15 schools, because if you have 5 recommenders, it's easy for you to just spread them across those applications, such that, well, when this one writes for me here, this one writes for me here, you understand? So you would make those things easy and seamless. And sometimes you need to keep reminding them, because the way it works is that you only know whether they've, submitted for you when you check your application dashboard, right? So sometimes when you check your application dashboard and you see that they've not submitted, you can send them an email or send them a text just to remind them, because I've seen situations where people just submit and then they don't track the application. They just feel, oh, I've submitted, submitted. But the thing is that if your recommendation letters are not completed, they won't review the application. If the school says submit 3 recommendation letters, if you have 1, they're not review application. So, and that's why spreadsheet is going to help you, because you keep checking. Okay, let me go to the application dashboard of this school and see whether I have all of my applications and documents submitted. So you check and then you follow, check and follow. Then make sure you are conversant with the dates. So the date you submitted, you can put it down somewhere, even on the spreadsheet. So that would actually help you track things, and then you keep monitoring, and then before you know it, you start getting responses from the school. So I'll be around for your questions. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about my journey, and I'm here to kind of share everything I know on this journey with you guys, and of course encourage you not to give up. For those that have been receiving love letters, it's just part of the process. It's really part of the process, because it's inevitable actually. So for my own case, I had to deal with 18. I didn't even mention the ones I've been dealing with from 2017 till 2021. So it's part of the process. So I think that will be all for now. If Samuel Ajayi has something to say,
Yeah.
maybe you can just.
So thank you, Bolu Atife. I will say I don't use the word crazy when my boy is around, but it's inside now, so that's a crazy journey. Like it's 18 rejections on a go. Some people will go into depression. So there are a lot of questions here on YouTube already. Um, we'll pick we'll pick it from we'll pick from YouTube and pick from Twitter. So if you have question, you can request for the mic. Bulu Atife will let you in if you have a question, and I will be reading questions from YouTube. If there, I'll answer some. Bulu Atife will allow him to answer some too. Those that I think is in particular with some of the questions, some of the things he raised. All right, so Jeremiah is asking here from YouTube. He said, "Good afternoon, sir. Please, how can I combine my PGPD and HND for a master's program scholarship? Is it the two transcript I'll submit?" So, Jeremiah, I don't know if you are still on YouTube or if you are on Twitter Space here too. Basically, if you're applying with your HND, you want to submit with your OND, with your ND. They say it's not ND against ND. You want to submit with your ND because the ND and the HND makes it an equivalent of BSc. Okay, if you want to add your PGT, you can add it to it. That's fine. But your ND must be present. Okay, your ND must be present. Those two transcripts is very important. Ogunleye is that Oluwafemi is asking if this meeting is recorded. Yes, you can find this session on YouTube after this space, this Twitter space. You can always find it on YouTube. It's available there. It's secured, so no problem with that. Um, Bankole, okay. Yeah, Bankole is talking about the recording. So, okay, so Deborah is asking, what if you are applying for a different course or field? So she's talking about paragraph two. When I was talking about paragraph two, saying, what if you're applying to a different course or field? Okay, so let me use myself as an example. I will even use my wife SOP as an example too. Um, when I applied, from what I did as an undergraduate and as a master's student at the University of Ibadan, I did radiation and health physics. Okay, at the master's level, I did radiation and health physics. And when I was applying for my PhD, I was writing SOP for condensed matter physics. Okay, now, if you are close to physics, you see that radiation and health physics and condensed matter physics are apart. They are not the same at all. At all. So what I have to do, the first SOP I wrote, this is what I did. I was trying to struggle to look for that balance, that link between radiation and health physics and condensed matter physics. It's not. I mean, you can talk about detectors that you use in the radiation and health physics, and then you can say, oh, those detectors are actually semiconductors, which is part of condensed matter physics, material physics, and the like. I was trying to do that, and then, of course, when I didn't get the funding the first time, I didn't get accepted the first time. When I was writing it the second time, I was still applying for condensed matter physics, but I simply wrote the experience I have in my field. And I wrote that I'm now applying to a different field. I'm applying to one of these is I will read my SOP. There is in one of the laptops, one laptop here. I don't really use that laptop again. We brought it from Nigeria. It's Nathaniel's laptop now. Is the one playing with it. I will say my SOP should still be there. I wrote that yes, I have an experience in radiation and health physics. I didn't try to link it again. And I wrote the skills I've gained, the research experiences I've gained, all those things that I've gained doing research in that field. But I wrote that now I'm applying for condensed matter physics, and I started writing. This is why I'm interested in condensed matter physics and all those things I explained at the beginning. I included everything. I wrote everything there, and the fact that I was doing radiation and health physics, but now condensed matter physics is what I'm interested in. So I didn't struggle to try and say there is a blend between the two and all those stuff. That struggle trying to make them look related. I didn't try to do that again. So it's possible when you're applying to a different field or a different course, just explain the research work that you have in the field you are doing presently, explain the skill set you have, explain everything, then move to start talking about the new field you're applying to. My wife too, she did biochemistry at the University of Ibadan. Okay. But she applied to pharmaceutical sciences. Okay. Yes, there is a link which is toxicology, which she was able to leverage on. But if the link is not that obvious, if the research link is not that obvious, Just write the skills you've gained in what you have done. Just write the beautiful things you have done, and then write the beautiful things you want to do. Okay, write the beautiful things you want to do. And Deborah, you're also asking, can skill come under paragraph 2? Yes, it can come under paragraph 2, but remember in paragraph 2, so that you don't have too long paragraph 2, you want to talk about those, what do you call it now? What you have done. You went to school, you went to study, so, you did research work in this is what your BSc project is all about. So by the time you are saying all those things, sometimes it becomes too long. So you want to break that paragraph into two, talk about your skill. But the skill can come under it if you don't have too much to talk about. Those skills can come under paragraph 2. And basically, it's not about the paragraph where it comes, actually. It's about the flow. If you notice my wife SOP when I was reading it, there is that flow from each paragraph to another paragraph, each paragraph to another paragraph. For example, when she mentioned, let me read this part, very beautiful part. Oh, uh, for example, when she mentioned uh, adverse effects in paragraph 1, she mentioned that adverse effect of this environmental contaminants on the health and well-being of the populace became of great concern to me. Then she went to paragraph 2 and said, I became more passionate about the effect of environmental contaminants on human health during my 3 months industrial training program. And she mentioned those things, another one of the ways where human beings can be exposed to contaminations again, which is different from the contamination she talked about. In the first paragraph, she just talked about environmental risks generally, contaminations generally. Paragraph 2, she went on to talk about a specific example which she experienced herself. And then paragraph 3, after talking about the contaminant of people dropping things in rivers and all those stuff, she now went to paragraph 3 to talk about her research work too. She said, let me read the end of paragraph 2 and the beginning of paragraph 3. The ending of paragraph 2, she wrote, this is just one of the many ways humans are exposed to environmental toxicants. Then, beginning of paragraph 3, she wrote, my research works during my bachelor's and master's program at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, was to explore other forms in which people may be directly or indirectly exposed to these toxic substances. So you see the flow, everything flows into each other. So it's not about exactly about where you put that information in which paragraph. It's about the flow. That's what you are interested in. That's what we are interested in. I have decided to break it down into paragraph this way for easy flow, for you to be able to have that easy flow without thinking too much. So in the paragraph 3, she went on to talk about other toxicants where which anyone can be exposed to. People people ripening agents and all those stuff. She went to talk about that. So yes, Deborah, it can come under paragraph 2. All right, before I take the next question from YouTube, let's have real one. You want to ask a question, please ask your question now. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation and the opportunity to ask the questions. I actually want to ask the question pertaining to the paragraph where you have to talk about the university or any potential professor which you have talked with. Is it only when you secure the professor that it's important to state this? Or there are some instances where you get response like, oh, what a wonderful something, or fortunately I don't have funding, or I'm not taking students at this moment. And even sometimes the university may not require that you secure an advisor prior to your application. You just want to do like as your own personal effort to do that. So what in this instance, is it still advisable to put that in that paragraph, or we just overlook that? Thank you.
Okay, let me answer this because it seems I experienced that too. If a professor has told you that he's not taking students, you don't need to put the professor in your SOP. Okay, you don't need to talk about the professor in your SOP. But it's possible that sometimes you have not spoken to a professor and you talk about the professor in your SOP. Many times, many schools will let the professor know that a student talked about his research work. For example, when I applied to schools, then one of the schools I applied to, I mentioned the research work of some professors and the like. I didn't discuss with those professors. Okay. Now, I was called for an interview, and during the interview, the person interviewing me mentioned the fact that, oh, you said you're interested in this professor's work. What if, are there other professors that you are interested in their work? Okay. So I was able to say, yes, there are other professors I'm interested in their work. Why they were asking me the question is because the professor or the research work will not be available for me to work on. So they asked me other professors I'm interested in, and I mentioned those other professors that I'm interested in. So it's very possible. And then sometimes they even give you SOP to the professor. It depends on the school. Okay. It depends on the school. They may give the SOP to the professor that someone said this, he or she is interested in you. And the professor will go through your SOP, go through your documents, go through everything you submitted, and see if he wants you or not. But it's easier when you already secure a professor, we already secure a professor, and then uh, they say they eventually come to you, you submitted, and then they send message to the professor that this person is interested in you, or the professor already knows you, already remembers you. So it's very possible that way. That's very, very, very possible. All right. Uh, I'll read the second question, another question from YouTube, and I want Buluwatife to answer that. This person says, Tesfa, you are Tesfa, you said, should we focus only on the professor's current research work that they are doing while writing SOP, or should we also consider their research work that they did in the previous years? I would say current research work, but I want Boluwatife to just talk more on this. Boluwatife.
Yeah, right. Thank you. The chances are high that the current research what they are actually working on is the one that is funded. So most of the time, these research projects you see are kind of tied to some form of funding, and if they're not working on a project any longer, I don't think there is a need for you to write about that project, because the reason is because sometimes it is advisable for you to go through their profile and check their publications and try to tie your research interest to their current publication, because what they're doing actually is what is currently funded. So I would advise you tie your research interest to their current research project. I think that would work.
Yeah, beautiful. So just do what they are doing currently. And I tell you, one of the reasons why many people don't get response from professors when they send cold email is because they are writing to them about what they are not currently doing. They're writing to them about past project things, they've moved away from. That's what they're writing to them about. There's no enthusiasm to respond to such emails. Okay. All right. Another question here from YouTube. Deborah, you're asking, what if assistantship is stated on the department website? I mean, where the department states that they offer assistantship for every student. I guess you're trying to refer to the point in the SOP where my wife wrote that she's interested in, let me see, where she said she's, yeah, I would love to be considered for funding available either through. Yeah, when they have stated that, it does not, I mean, it does not take anything away from your SOP to that to say that you are interested in funding. It's still all good. Now, one thing I saw again in my wife's SOP, which I didn't emphasize while I was reading it, was the fact she mentioned the fact that she has teaching experience, okay, which will help her in being considered for, for teaching assistantship. She mentioned that she has taught A level. She actually has more teaching experience than what she wrote here, but she only wrote what is relevant. She has actually taught second secondary school students. She has taught even primary school students, and she taught advanced level chemistry and biology. Okay, and then she also mentioned the fact that she has experience mentoring undergraduate students. And what's that mentoring? It was informal, right? If you're an MSc, if you have been an MSc student in a Nigerian university before, and your professor has undergraduate student, many times you have to interact with them. Many times you have to put them through some things, show them what to do in the lab and all those things. Those were just the experience. And yes, she actually mentored the students, and she wrote it there. So in fact, she wrote that she had the opportunity to co-supervise uh, uh, professors undergraduate students during their research work. So you can write those things. It makes you sellable. It makes you look unique, look special. You can write all those things. All right. Let me read another question from YouTube. It seems more of the question we have is from YouTube here. Um, Sarah Ahmed. Okay, so thanks, Samuel. That was really good. Well delivered. Very useful lecture. Thank you too. Nolade, you are asking, please, in case where you graduated in 2015 and want to do your MSc now, and during the period you had no significant experience, or let's say you have been unemployed, how do you represent that down? How do you say that? How do you do that? You've been unemployed. How do you do that? Boluwatife, can you receive some of those who are requesting for mic? Yeah, uh, just receive their requests. You'll be seeing them as requested. So just click on the requested and then you approve them. So uh, I will answer this. I will allow Boluwatife to also talk on this too, because you apply to a lot of schools. So now I will advise you, try and get something doing. If you've not had that, Dan Mali, you can mute yourself, please.
Yeah.
You can mute yourself. Dan Malik, yeah, Dan Malik, you can mute yourself. Okay, so in that situation where you have been unemployed, number one thing, what I always say, try to find somewhere to volunteer. It's very important that you have done something within that gap. Now, even if you've been unemployed within that time, and now presently find somewhere to volunteer and use your skills or learn something. Okay. Now I know this is very possible in a Nigerian situation where people just become are not really doing anything and then they are selling stuffs online, selling cream, biochemists selling cream, selling onion and all those stuff, which is not really related. Try and volunteer somewhere or try and create something of value. Either you want to say, oh, you are going to schools to do talk, give talk on health, blah, 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 or give talk on blah, 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 on this or that. That's very useful. You can try and do that. Okay. Because saying that you've not been doing anything uh outside that time, yeah, does not really look good. Another thing that might happen is if you are not able to do that, just be silent on that period. Just focus on what you have done while you were in school, and while you were in school, while you were graduating, your research work and all those things. Just focus on that. Okay, I think you can actually do that. You can actually do that. Just focus on that. If you have that gap and you are not able to fill it or you are not able to do something reasonable. Boluwatife, I want to say something on that. You applied to a lot of schools and then period of application where you were working at that time anyway. But still say something on that.
Yeah, I think that's a whole lot of gap from 2015 to about 2022 or thereabout. That's a whole lot of gap. So I would actually suggest that you actually occupy yourself with maybe volunteering activities and all that, because sometimes when there is a whole lot of gap in your resume, it's not good enough. So if you don't have a job, you can just occupy yourself with volunteering activities where you can put it there that you volunteered for so years or so months, which is a good one. In fact, I usually encourage people to talk about their volunteering activities and their leadership experience on the SOP, because some of these things will come in handy for you when they are reviewing the application. So you need to get yourself occupied. Yeah.
Okay, let's have someone ask question from Twitter now. Mr. Nelson, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is in three parts. First, I've been trying to get my SOP reviewed for the past 4 months, I've been on Twitter. I've been following Mr. Samuel on Twitter for, I don't know, more than 1 or 2 years, but I've not been able to get him to help me review my SOP. So I don't know when that will be, but I still hope that will happen. Okay, that's the first one. For the second one, can I use my SOP for almost all the 10 universities I'm applying for MSc? Since I'm making not exactly me, but my brother is making a complete switch from bachelor's in philosophy to nursing. So I encourage him to do auxiliary, go for auxiliary nursing for some time, and then so we can make a switch. So the question is, can I use the same SOP, maybe with a slight modification, to apply to all the universities? That's the second one, and then for the third question, do you think it's possible to make such switch from philosophy, which is social sciences, directly to health sciences, which is nursing? Although in a way we try to, like you said before, we try to through part of philosophy, that anthropology and all that. So in such a way it's related, but I don't know if such thing will give him some edge to get admission, not exactly in US, but UK and other places. Thank you.
Okay. First, let me talk about SOP review. You've not been able to catch me. Yeah, I mean, the last one I did, I announced a couple of days before I received the new badge, and I will be reviewing that probably to the end, most likely to the end of this month. I'll be asking for a new one, maybe by the end of this month or early November. Okay, so and I won't be able to receive more. Number two, sorry guys.
It's okay.
All right. So the next question, I presume the person wants to apply for BSc nursing. Now, of course, I know some people, regardless of the course they did, they eventually still go back to nursing and then do BSc and all the like. But those many I know, they don't, because it's a BSc course. There's nothing like assistantship for BSc. There's nothing like, there can be some one or two. Sorry, that's my boy displaying over there. There can be one or two scholarships, one or little, but not necessarily full funding. Some people come into US and then they are able to go back to nursing and start all over again. I'm not sure how that can work in terms of getting a scholarship from Nigeria or something. I'm not sure how the UK works in terms of the visa. You can get the admission, okay, you can get the admission, but I'm already looking at visa possibilities and the likes. That's what I'm already looking at. I'm not sure how strict UK is when someone is of at a certain age, because many views in Nigeria for US, when someone is at a certain age, let's say almost hitting 30, and then they are now applying for undergraduate courses, it's somehow sounds suspicious to them and all those stuff. But
No, sorry to cut you short. Actually, he's going for not BSc, MSc, Masters.
Oh, MSc in nursing. Okay, so the problem now will be the prerequisite. There will be some prerequisite courses that they will need from and all those things. But I think with the experience you say she's having as an auxiliary nurse, I don't know. Do we have to check the website of each of those schools to see the prerequisite courses that they are requesting for, and then shoot them an email to mention the situation? She will have an edge now because she's already doing auxiliary, working as an auxiliary nurse and all those stuff. So I think that will help. That should help.
Okay.
All right. Let me pick one more. Yeah, you want to say something?
Okay, so for the review, I've been waiting for so long.
Oh,
Can I send you directly, please?
you
It's
know
getting very urgent.
you know why? I have a lot that I'm reviewing presently that is urgent too. That's the problem, and they are all waiting. See, every day I receive messages in my DM. I'm still waiting for my review. Many of them will be here now saying I'm still waiting for my SOP review. This and that. I have one opened on my laptop here. This is Sonia. I think I've had it open since for 2 days or so now. I've not even reviewed it, but that's the next one. So I have it like that. So many people sent already. So that is the problem. It's not that I don't want to review. Okay, I want to review.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And you didn't answer the last question. It's 3-part question.
Oh, what's the third one?
Is it possible to use the same SOP?
Okay, yes. So you can, since the content, when we say use different SOPs, it doesn't mean start from scratch. Okay, it simply means that those differences, those peculiarities for each of the schools, you will have to look at those peculiarities and change. For example, professors you want to work with will change. If they call the course a different name in another school, call it exactly the name they have called it. Some schools will say condensed matter physics. Some schools will call it material science or material physics or something. So call it what each school is calling it. Just make those edits, do those editing and all those stuff. Edit the research that each professor is doing, edit the professor's name, edit all those things. So it's important you do all those ones. So when we say use different SOPs, it does not necessarily mean start everything from scratch. Okay, it means make it peculiar to each school.
Okay.
Yeah. Buluwatife, let me have this question from you from YouTube. Okay, it's a two same person asking the question. She's saying, I think she. Is there a limit for the number of pages for an academic CV? And also, can I include a list of grants awarded for projects that I've carried out in my academic CV? Yes, include the grants carried. Boluwatife, just quickly answer the question. Is there a limit for the number of pages for an academic CV?
You shouldn't have more than 2 to 3 pages, in my own opinion, because you're not a PhD holder, by the way. You're actually looking to get into the program, and if there's a way you can shrink all of your experience and make sure that your CV doesn't exceed 3 pages, I think that would be fine. Because in most cases, it's just a summary of what you've done. You'll just find a way to simplify it. If it is too long, that means you're coming in as a grad student and you're having about 10 or 8-page CV or resume. So I think you can try and shrink it and make it about 3 pages. That would be fine. And then for your grant whatsoever, everything you do that has to do with or probably has a kind of relationship with what you're going to do. Maybe you have an award or you've been involved in some projects that came with grants or workshops or anything, just put it on your CV, because those things will actually make you competitive when they start reviewing your application. So I think you can have all those that has to do with grants, that has to do with awards, that has to do with projects. Just put all of that on your resume. But by and large, be mindful that it is important that you don't exceed that 3-page. I think that will be fine.
All right. Thank you. Please, if you have asked a question, you can remove yourself as a speaker so that others can get the opportunity to. Oracle, let's have your question. Oracle, you can speak. Let's have your question. Oracle, you can unmute yourself. Let's have your question. Okay, if Oracle is not ready, Musa, unmute yourself. Let's have your question.
Thank you very much, brother. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. Actually, I have 2 questions. My first question here, I already skill professor, I already skill professor got his interest. He replied me, and but what he is telling me is that it was discouraged by the school to choose a permanent placement in any laboratory. I'm going for PhD program. So what he advised me is that I should apply first. Then, if I got the admission, there is 8 week rotation between laboratory, so that in case there is overlap between you and the professor you already chose, so that maybe you have your interest, the professor doesn't want to work with you anymore. Maybe there is an overlap. So my second question is, in my personal statement, am I to write the professor name that reply to me, or there is no need, since like there is this school rules that you cannot choose a professor prior to your admission to the school? And is personal statement and SOP different thing or the same thing? Thank you very much.
Somewhere I think I would take that.
Okay, yeah, go on that. Yeah.
Yeah, for that in that scenario, there's nothing wrong, because when you get to the university, you're going to do lab rotation, which is actually one of the things you do in your first few months in the university. But it is just it's a win-win situation for you. Eventually, when you get there, and then maybe after some discussion with the professor physically, you feel that you don't want to work with the person again, you have the room to pick another person to work with. There is no crime in that. So he's just trying to let you know the situation of things in the program. You might have someone you want to work with before you come, but when you get there and then you see other professors and you see what they are doing and you feel, wow, that this actually interests you more. There's no room in deciding to work with another. There's no problem in deciding to work with another professor. In fact, it is usually encouraged by grad coordinators that when you come here, you can always pick whoever you want to work with, because all of them would probably come around and tell you about their research and in a bit to get your interest and all that, which is what they call lab notation. So that is completely fine. Can you just repeat the second part of your question again?
Yeah, my second part of the question is about my personal statement. Is personal statement and statement of purpose the same thing? And am I to write the professor name, since like you told me it's discouraged to like choose a professor prior to your admission? So am I to write his name in my personal statement, or I have to leave it blank?
Yeah, it's totally fine if you write his name in your SOP. All right. So it's fine. If you write his name in your SOP, doesn't mean um, because he said you have the privilege to come here and change professors, doesn't mean they will not look at your application. It's fine if you want to include his name, but in the SOP, because SOP and personal statements are not the same thing. So I don't know whether Samuel Ajayi has something to say in that regard, but they usually not the same thing, because SOP has to do with you communicating your intent and the interest you have in that program. Is much more program oriented. But when you talk about your personal statement, this is where you talk more about your leadership experiences, you've had volunteering experiences, and how you feel that this program would actually develop you personally, and how you can develop your own country. So basically, it is where you communicated your experiences in terms of leadership experience, volunteering experience, stories that are personal to you. So you communicate that in your personal statement. But when it comes to SOP, it has to do with the program. It's much centered around the program, what you want to do, why you are going to this program, or you feel this program will do for you, the research area you are trying to go through, and your long-term future plan even after your program. So I think that's one of the easiest way you can differentiate the two, because I see a lot of people thinking the same. The two are the same, but I don't think so. Maybe Samuel Ajayi can touch more on that.
Yeah, I mean, you are correct in the fact that they are actually different. But again, this is what I say. Many schools now, I think, are using SOP and personal statement interchangeably. That's what I've observed. Many schools that will say, okay, write a personal statement, then they will give a list of things they expect you to write, and they still write, tell us about your past, your story, blah blah blah, and they still write things like your future goals, what you want to do, why you are interested in this program. So many times now, it's being used interchangeably. And if a school does not give a guideline on things they want you to write, I advise people, put in your best shot. I would advise include the name of the professor that that you're interested in the research work. That's one of the things that attract you to the school. Even though in the big sense we'll say, oh, that should be part of SOP and the likes, yeah. But when the school does not give a guideline, one of the schools I applied to then requested for a personal statement and another statement. So I had to write two statements. So I had my personal story, my all those stuff in a different, in a separate. Dan Mali, please mute yourself.
Hello.
So I had my personal story in a separate write up, and I have those why I'm applying to this school, my future goals, my plan, which is SOP in that sense, in another statement, in another file, as another file, and then you have to upload the two in one of the schools I applied to them. But for many of the schools, they use it interchangeably, now, especially if they just ask you to write one. I will advise you to put all the necessary information that we've been discussing, even in SOP, just put it there. They are using it interchangeably now. And then again, I think it's just naming, semantics, and all those stuffs eventually. But if the school gives you guideline on exactly to write and they say personal statement, these are the guidelines to follow. If they give you that, follow that. If they ask you two different statements, personal statement, statement of purpose, you can separate it. But if they don't separate it, I usually advise people just put everything you need to put there, write everything you need to write there. Okay, from YouTube, let me pick another question. Uh, Boluwatife, this question is for you straight away. That template of spreadsheets for proper application, someone is asking if you can help them to share it. So if you still have that format, that template, do you still have it, Boluwatife?
Yeah, sure, I do. Maybe after this space, I'll just share it with Samuel Ajayi, so you can just use it to put up your applications together. I think it will really help you a whole lot. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I will share that. I'll share it on my Twitter page and I'll share it on YouTube too under this video. So if you are watching this video, whenever you are watching it, you will find that template here. Okay. Let's pick another question from Twitter. Mitchell, let's have the first lady speak. Mitchell, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Samuel and Boluwatife, for the interesting section. So, what I wanted to know is for the academic CV. So, do I need to cut out irrelevant experience? Because currently I'm trying to apply for the public health program. And also, I have been focused on the data analytics part of health, of public health. So I want to know, basically, all my experiences, I've not really had a health related experience. So I don't know if I should take all those things out of my academic CV since they're not tailored to the program I'm about to apply for. So that's my challenge now.
No, I won't say you should take it out. Data analytics, there are some of the things that are part of what we need in the public health, right? They want to analyze data on particular health and stuff. So don't take it out. Okay, these are some of the specialized skill that some professors want to see if their students have it. Any skill you have, don't take it. I think what Buluwat is just saying is that let not your CV be unnecessarily long if it does not contain substance. If your CV, if those experiences, if those things you are adding there are actually substantial stuff, things of substance, you can have 10 pages and no one will be bored. Okay. But you can't have 10 pages and you are just writing things, just trying to fill, when you are just trying to fill it with something. Okay. But if you've had the publications listed there, if you've had conference talks listed there, if you've had grants, awarded grant listed there. So what he's just saying is that don't just try to make it say, oh, it must be, it's not how long your CV is that makes it unique. It's the content. I think that's the point.
Okay, sorry, thank you for that. So I just wanted to also ask, so my volunteering experience too has also been within the data space, like community volunteering, conferences and the rest. So is it also advisable I add it to, since it's also a public health program I'm going for?
Yes, add it. Your volunteering experience is beautiful. Add it.
Okay.
Yeah, add it. But of course, you have, based on whatever you're applying for, there are some terminologies you want to use. You change terminologies, you change words, you change all those things. For example, anything community based is good for public health.
Okay.
Yeah, anything community based is good for public health. So just use those terminologies you have to use uh, to make it look beautiful. So add it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam.
All right, let's pick another question from YouTube. Okay. So someone is asking for plagiarism checkers. Boluwatife, any idea? I know Turnitin that are reliable to use on SOP, even though I don't, if you have written your SOP yourself, if you have, because I know some people go and copy SOP, someone, that's one of the reasons why I don't really like sharing SOP. Someone will just go and copy it and write it as his or her own. And then you now be looking for plagiarism checker to see the percent. If you have written it yourself, you don't really need it. But I know Turnitin. I don't know. Boluwatife, any other one you know, plagiarism checkers?
I think Turnitin is good, and I don't know, but I think some people are saying it's possible for you to use Grammarly as well. Yeah, I don't know, but I think Grammarly only checks the grammar and the wordings and all that. I don't know whether they have a component of Grammarly that does
I think they
plagiarism
do
check.
actually.
Yeah, so
because I use
people talk
Grammarly.
about I usually use Grammarly for my text and all that, but people say they kind of have where they can use that for plagiarism checker. So I think Turnitin and Grammarly is actually good, and it's usually advisable even when you write it yourself to kind of screen it through these plagiarism checkers, because like Samuel Ajayi said, we have cases where people will just take the whole SOP and you just edit a few things and then submit it. So it's not really good enough. And here they don't really, joke with things that has to do with plagiarism. And I usually encourage people to write SOPs themselves, because you're going to be doing a lot of writing in graduate school. So you cannot run away from it. So the earlier you start, the better. So you can use Grammarly and Turnitin. That will be fine. Yeah.
And I usually say I'm all for DIY, do it yourself. I'm not a fan of anyone writing SOP for anyone. If you have seen them, you would have seen under some of my tweets, some people will come and advertise their that I write CV for this and that, I write SOP for. I'm not a fan of that actually. I love you doing it yourself. It's a development process, it builds you. Okay. When you pay for someone to do it for you, will you continue to pay when you get to grad school? Will you continue to pay when things go tough and all those stuff? And I think they are even just taking your money. Someone will collect your $1,000. I know someone will start collecting his $100 then, and then I think there's a package now for $1,000. I don't know all the details. It's very funny and terrible at the same time.
$1,000 for SOP. Really?
One,
Wow.
the person called it a total package, not just SOP only. A total package. I don't know what the total package and this, but it's they are just taking your money. That's just it. They are taking your money. You know why? If I write SOP for people now I've read a lot of SOP. If I write 100 SOP, I've reviewed like hundreds of SOP. If I write 100 SOP, they can be, if two people are in the same field, I will have this almost the same terminologies using for them, because it's the same me. My flow of writing is the same. If they turn it in and then try to see the plagiarism check and see how much, it will just show up everywhere. You see, it's just showing up everywhere because the person is writing for different people. And you see most of those things online too. If they just throw it in and then because you have copied from someone, everything just shows up and then you are shooting yourself in the foot. And someone was sent away recently because the university said the person used a plagiarized stuff for his admission packages. Just this year, or just this fall, this fall admission that people resume with. So please do it by yourself, do it yourself. it's very good. All right, let's have another question from Twitter. No, Noble Kenneth. Okay, yeah, you can unmute yourself. Please, if you have asked your question, you can remove yourself as a speaker and then let others be able to come in. Noble Kenneth.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Subaji. Please, my question is on the issue of the SOP. Over the course of the program, I've learned that it's essential to include some stuff.
Yeah.
Like have solely 5 paragraphs talking about some certain things.
Yeah.
But what do you advise a student to, whereby the school actually requested for ask 2 questions in particular, like why are you applying for this program and why should we choose you? Which is minimum of 1,000. They just put 1,000 characters. So how would one do so? And then comprising all these paragraphs and stuff that will still be within the limits, or let's say just a page, maximum of a page.
Yeah.
You're adding it as an attachment. But if you are typing it on the site, it's minimum of maximum of 1,000 characters.
All right, that's not
So
hard.
is it to go for the characters or to go for the letter, like attachment?
Sorry, I don't get what you mean by attachment.
Like there are 2 options in submitting the SOP. Is either you type it on the site, which is maximum of 1,000 characters, or you attach it as a file.
Okay, okay.
Maximum of a page.
Well, I think whichever one you are comfortable with is okay. For me, I usually go with their characters and then I type it first on the Word and then paste it there for them. Now, and basically, they're asking you the same question. Why are you applying to our course? It's still basically why are you applying to our university. I remember that paragraph I talked about, which is talking about why you are choosing the university, the facilities, the professors, their research work, and all those things. Those are the things you want to talk about why you are choosing the university. Why should we choose you? Your motivation, remember your first paragraph, the problem statement, what your experiences, things you are bringing to the table. Those are the things you will put there. So it's so straightforward, so easy to answer. So basically, it's still the same whole thing. Now, those ones doing that just want you to go straight to the point. They don't want you to tell too much stories. Okay. So why are we choosing you? My skill, my past experience, blah blah blah, my motivation. Why do you want our school? Why our school specifically? Your research work, your research facilities, your whatever, diversity, whatever, all those things. Those are just the basic things. All right. So quickly from okay, let me take IK Dick and Tony. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Uncle Samuel. I think I may be very similar to Dr. Samuel. Thank you for all you do. I'm trying to help a friend run an application in Florida State, and this is not in the direct question because I already do some work with people here because I'm doing my master's in the US currently. So I'm helping a friend complete an application. We're doing it together anyway. So we've uploaded all the possible documents needed and recommendation letters where emails were sent to the recommenders. They have responded to the email because I think Florida State doesn't use Surface. They send direct emails to the recommenders. And this was yesterday. The recommenders have or claim to have responded, followed the link and done the needful. The application is still saying incomplete. This is for spring 23. Deadline is actually today, so I sent DMs, and because I know you have a strong connection there, to see if you can just take 2 minutes to look at it and know why it's not going through. It's still showing XXX for the recommenders, 3 of them. And the official transcript is these are the only 4 things showing X. But I know that official transcript, you don't really need official transcript because they said both on the side that you don't need official transcript except when you are admitted and you choose to attend. So I know you're very busy and you have a lot of things to do, but this is quite very time sensitive because deadline is today. I mean, I think it's your school, so probably the only option I have now to see if you can help just look at that and see why it's not going through. I've asked him to even go to the recommender's house to see if he can have access to their emails and see why it's not going through, because they replied the emails and that's still showing as an application still showing incomplete. I made the payment on 29th.
Okay, yeah. So I think you can send me the link and I will check it. But I think, of course, I know many people applied to Florida State FSU. It shows incomplete many times because of the official transcript, which is not a problem. Okay, which is usually not a problem. You will find X on official transcript, because you only need the official transcript after the admission decision has been made. That's when you need you need the official transcript. That's when you have to send it. So send it to me. I will check it and see what's going on. But most likely, the three recommenders, if they have submitted it and it's not updated yet, I will ask that you probably should write message to the admission committee. I mean, no, the graduate coordinator. They can still open it if it's a problem from the FSU side. They can still open it for the page for the recommenders to fill it in for maybe open the page for like 2 or 3 days so that they can fill it in. Okay, but I will check it. We'll talk in DM. Let me just respond to you now. Yeah. So I've I've responded a bit, just responded with an I. So we'll talk about that there. All right. Let me quickly go back to YouTube and pick.
Thank you so much. I sent my email and my phone number in case you need, because I know you still run this place. And sorry, yeah. So,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Let me pick another question from YouTube. For someone who is yet to get the transcript and BSc result, is it best to wait for the result and trying before commence? Yes, you will always need. The person is asking, should I wait for my transcript before applying? Yes, you will always need to wait for your transcript. You need your transcript to apply. There's nothing you can do about it. I know people have problems with Nigerian universities where we are not able to get our transcript. That's true. It's a reality. Schools are even on strike and all those stuff. But you just need to wait to get it. You need your transcript. Okay. So Jeremiah, you are still asking, you've also done PGT, any need for West evaluation? You do West evaluation when the school you're applying to ask you to do West evaluation. So those with HND can also apply like anybody. You add your OND and ND and HND transcript and use that in applying. Only do West evaluation. Even you can add your PGD, or which you said you have, Jeremiah. Only add your West evaluation. Only do West evaluation when when the school requires you to do West evaluation. All right. Let's pick another person from Twitter. Osamu Diame. Sorry, I'm murdering your name, but please, you have the floor.
Well, that's fine. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks to what I've asked questions. For a lot of my questions have already been answered, but I still have one more, which is for recommendation. Is it advisable that you use, for instance, like I have relatives, right, that could actually be like strong recommenders. For example, I have an uncle, if I remember, and the physician I think in hospital in Saskatchewan. So I'm asking what is cons to using recommendation from a family member.
Okay.
Let me take that.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah.
I don't think that is advisable. Most of the time, when you're applying to schools, they will need you to pick recommenders that are in one way or the other touching your university days. Family members writing recommendation for you, I don't think that would fly. So, if I'm to advise you, I would say no, don't use the family members writing recommendation letter for you. I think you should. It is better off if you have a superior workplace, maybe your supervisor or your line manager that can come in. But most of the time, schools require you to get 2 persons from your university, maybe your undergrad lecturers, and maybe someone who is a professional referee or professional reference letter. Yeah, that could work. But family members, I don't think that would fly.
All right. So just to add to that, you can only use them if the person has worked with you in your line of research. If the person has not worked with you in your line of research, it does not matter their opinion about you. Okay. So what we are interested in is the connection, the professional connection, the academic connection. Can the person talk about your strengths in that research line you are trying to go into? Can the person talk about your academic, what you have done, what you can do, how possible the probability of your success in graduate school? Can the person talk about that? If not, don't use the person. Now, you can ask, okay, what if my dad is, let's say, what if my uncle is a professor of physics and I did physics in another university? You can still use that professor because the person does not was not involved with you directly. Does not The person did not supervise you. The person did not teach you any course. You didn't do any research together. You didn't do anything. You can use the person. Now, can you use someone who is a family member who is, let's say, a professor or a lecturer, or who employed you or who you interned with, and then the person worked with you directly, knows your strength, can talk about your research strength because you guys work together? Yes, but the person is not writing as a family member. The person is writing strictly because of the relationship, the professional relationship he or she has with you. Okay, that's why the person can write for you. The person doesn't even need to mention anything that my family, I've known him since he was giving birth to. No, the person has only known you since you started working with him, or since he taught you that class, or since whatever. That's a professional relationship. That a person, even if the person is your dad, okay, even though I won't advise your dad writing for you, but if you have a situation where let's say your dad is the HOD of physics department in UI, and then you went studied physics, and your dad is in the same department. Because I know someone, Professor Akinjo, the son is also a professor. Okay, the Professor Akinjo now, the older Akinjo has retired now. The young Akinjo is now in, I think, Rwanda. Did his my PhD in US, went back to UI, stayed for some years, then went to Rwanda, I think Rwanda, lecturing there. Now, his dad is a professor. Let's say they work together. The dad can write for him as a professor in that field who worked with the guy, but not as a dad. He won't say he has known him since birth. We only write the time where they work together and talk about the research trend, talk about what they did together. So you don't mix family with the professional side of it, even though it's usually recommended that it's someone else who is not family member, which I totally understand. We'll be rushing now. These 2 hours already. This space is meant to be for 2 hours, so I'll be rushing through the questions. Let me pick one or two questions from YouTube quickly. I'm currently doing, okay, someone is asking on YouTube, I'm currently doing my HND, almost done with the first year. How do I apply to school before the end of my program? You can't apply to school before the end of your program because you need your transcript. Except you have your transcript, that's when you can start applying. All right. And I have a video on HND, which I did on YouTube, how you can apply as an HND holder. Still on the HND, Adebayo is asking, since I'll be using West Evaluated Transcript, how do I enter this in the academic history of the application? Yes, you did HND and ND and HND from different schools. So you just write the two different schools there in the academic history. Write ND, write where you did it, write HND, write where you did it. All right, let's take a question from Twitter. Um, let's have another lady speak. Oh, Ochanaya is trying to get our network again now. Our network is Florence, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel. So, my question is, I just graduated last year, 2021, and I graduated with a BTech in dental technology. So, I want to know if it's possible for me to switch into full dentistry. That's doctor of dental surgeon or bachelor of dental doctor of dental surgeon. If I can switch into full dentistry because I already have a BTech. And also regarding my academic CV, I don't really have so much volunteering experience because I just graduated. I'm actually doing my housemanship right now. So I don't know if it's going to affect my SOP with not so much of an experience. And thirdly, for the letter of recommendation, can an adjunct lecturer writes recommendation letter for me. He's not a full-time lecturer in my school. He's an adjunct lecturer. So can the person write a recommendation letter for me? That's my question.
Okay, let me quickly start from your last question, and I will throw some to Boluwatife. Now, adjunct lecturer, he can write for you. If you have worked together, it definitely can write for you. I know someone who is in Yale. Can you mute yourself, Florence? Okay, good. So I know someone who is in Yale presently, and then one of the persons that wrote recommendation letter for him is not even a lecturer. Okay, he's a lecturer in another school, but the person was doing PhD in UI, University of Ibadan, but he's a lecturer in another school, and they work together. The person supervised him a bit, and because this guy was applying to so many schools, this lecturer guy who is doing a PhD in UI wrote recommendation letter for him because they work together. He can talk about his strengths. So yes, if you have worked with the professor, the adjunct professor can work for you. Now, for BTech to switch to dentistry, PhD in dentistry or MS in dentistry, um, I think that should be possible, but it will really be dependent on the requirement of the school. Each school, when they throw the applications open, they ask people from specific backgrounds. They say, okay, if you have a background in this course, for example, anyone who is doing physics now, we have people who did engineering who are doing masters, PhD physics with us, but they must have done some specific courses as an undergraduate, some basic physics courses, some basic electromagnetism, some basic E&M, some basic quantum physics, and all those stuff. They must have done all those courses before they are allowed to do PhD in physics. Okay, I think you had a third question. Boluwatife, can you still remember the third question?
Hello.
Yeah, Boluwatife, I can hear you.
Yeah, I said I can't get the third question.
Florence, what's the third question?
Okay, my third question is concerning the SOP. I don't really have so much voluntary experience and also research experience because I just graduated last year. So how would I channel my SOP to be mind catching, to be good?
Yeah, I think basically since you're just a fresh graduate, much is not really expected, and then on your CV it will be stated that the year you graduated, and of course you're going to a grad school program right after your graduation. So when it comes to kind of volunteering experiences in your own case, it might not necessarily be something you need to go, but you can emphasize more on your undergraduate research project since you're just graduating. So I want you to write extensively about your research project on your SOP. At least that would probably communicate that you can do research, and then you have the skills necessary to carry out research. And that would pretty fly for you, depending on how you word it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So basically, that answers it. You just graduated. Just put things you have. You are doing housemanship. Is that what you said you are doing presently?
Yes, that's what
Yes.
I'm doing.
Your experience there, you include it. Your experience while as a student, include all those things. Those are very needed. So you can actually include that. All right, I'm rushing through the question quickly back to YouTube. Someone is saying, I plan on applying for masters in public health for 423. I hold an undergraduate degree in biochemistry with a second class lower. How best do I increase my chances? GRE is not required. How best do you increase your chances? I read my wife's SOP, which you can see some of her experiences. She had to go and volunteer somewhere. She had to work in a place. They were paying her a token actually, but she had to work there because of the research experience. Look for places where you can volunteer, where you can learn. Not even if you have to pay to learn, even if it's not volunteer, if you have to pay to learn some of the techniques that they do, pay. There are some good places in Nigeria, very good places. If you are from wherever country to, there will be good places there. If you can have some in Nigeria, then you can have in your country too. Okay, so go there, volunteer, learn, pay them that you want to learn this thing, being interested in the skill. Now, if whatever you have to do, public health, for example, if you have to join NGOs, those advocating for good health for so or cervical cancer, blah blah blah. You know all those NGO that talk about those things, those going to the rural villages, to the rural areas to talk to them about health and all those things. Volunteer your time, join them. That will have a good way, will affect your chances in a positive way. So you can always do that. All right, Sonny Pamela asking, I want to ask on getting fully funded in the Department of Civil Engineering, University of Alabama, for slide. Just apply. I mean, just apply, Sonny, which is but which isn't shown in their admission requirement. Just apply or send a message to this. So you see all those information on their website. Let's come back to Twitter. Rushing through the questions. Um, okay, we have Noble Ken. Are you ready to speak now? I noticed that you could not speak the other time. Noble Ken. Okay, Noble Ken still cannot speak. All right. Please, if you are spoken to, you can remove yourself from as being a speaker, so that those who have not spoken can speak. Okay. Abed Brandy.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, thank you very much for the space. I have a quick question.
Okay.
So, I'm preparing my CV, and I use a template from Dr. Olumuyiwa.
Okay.
And there's a section for research experience. My research has been in the sciences, so with poetry and molecular work on poetry. But then here's the case that I may want to apply for programs in, for example, environmental science, and this is what I want to do for graduate school, environmental science and climate change. So, if the people see this poetry research experience, they'll say that, oh no, you should work with someone who's doing poetry. But then if you don't have any research experience on your CV also, I feel that's not right. So then I'm just confused as to how to approach this.
But I think you should just put the research experience you have. Okay. It simply shows that you have done research in an area before, you have research skills, you know what research means, you know what it takes to do research. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you try to put what you are trying to apply to. Okay. Just put it's your research experience. That is it. Just put it there. That's what you have done. That's where you have done research experience. If you try and go through the research work of the CV of different professors, you will see that the research experience they have from the beginning probably is most likely different from what they are currently working on. Okay, and it should still be in their CV. It does not mean that because they have changed, because they have done all those things, they will have to remove it from their CV. It should still have to be there. Okay, so just put it there is your research experience. It's your research experience. We won't be able to take more requests for questions, but we will just allow those on this space on who are already speakers to ask their questions, and then we will be able to end as soon as possible. Agozie, you want to quickly ask your question?
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the space. So my question is regarding my background, my BSc. The course I studied in the university is totally different from what I'm doing now, and I've been doing for the past 6 years. So I studied estate management in the university, but after graduating, I crossed over to the tech space. I'm now a front-end engineer, and that's what I've been doing for the past couple of years now. So I'm planning to start writing my SOP, but my concern and my drawback has always been the different backgrounds in terms of your BSc and your work experience. So I know a lot of people have this experience and challenges, but I really want to hear what's the best way to approach it. I've done so many certifications, and I also have an MBA, online MBA in that regards also. So, but when writing the SOP, what could really be the deciding factor, or what they will be looking out for to accept someone's admission in terms of not coming from computer science and STEM background, and now you are fully in that area in terms of your work experience?
Boluwatife, can you quickly take that, please?
Sorry.
Yeah, can you quickly respond to his question? Did you get his question?
Yeah, I got his question.
Okay,
He was saying he did estate management for undergrad, and then Since then, he has been working in the tech space. And if I may ask, which program are you, do you want to get into for your graduate program? Which program are you looking into?
Okay, I'm looking at computer science, MSc, or software engineering, between the two of them.
Basically, the first thing I would say is that you need to look at the requirement of those schools, because sometimes there's no way you can isolate your undergraduate degree. Yeah, especially if you're trying to apply to a university, because they have requirements for their grad school programs. So check the requirements. If they don't really emphasize on the fact that you need an undergraduate program in that particular area that you're going for, well, you can now write more extensively on the experience you have in that tech field. I think that will work for you. But if there is a requirement that you must have had maybe a bachelor's degree in computer science or something related to tech, it might not really fly for you. So by and large, I think what I would just tell you is that you need to look at the requirements of that university. I think the first thing to do is to look at the requirements before you even start writing your SOP. So look at the requirements, and then if it works, then you can populate your SOP with your experience in the tech field. I think that would fly for you.
Yeah, so I think look at the requirement, but of course, I think it's possible because we've seen many people from different field. I've seen different people from different field go to computer science, data science, and other people from different just name it. Someone is asking a similar question on YouTube too. The person is saying, in the case where you are looking to study, what you are looking to study is entirely different from your undergraduate course, for instance, from education to public health. How do you tailor your SOP? So the same way we've been talking about it, education, for example, you start talking about educating people. That's what you want to do. A part of public health is about educating people too. Okay, so you just link it and go through it. For you, you just need to talk about in your SOP. What's your name again? Let me see. Um, like you say, yeah. So you just need to talk about everything you have done, your experiences, which is quite robust. 6 years is not a joke. So I think you will be an asset. You talk about the fact that you will be an asset and all those things. Of course, still look at their requirements, send them a message if need be. But I believe it's possible. I've seen different people just go into that tech from. I know someone who did physics to go into data science. You can say, "Oh, that is close." Then I know another person who did education and she's into data science now. She's doing a master's in the US. I can't remember which education course she did, but education, that's what she did. And she's doing a master's in data science or data analytics, either of the two. So it's very, very, very possible. Very possible. Let's pick another question from YouTube so that we are moving very, 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 very fast. Very fast. There are some questions I will skip because I probably have answered some of them. Okay. Miracle, you're asking, so for schools that want the transcript sent by the school you graduated from now, how do I go about it if I already received my official transcript? No, so official transcript is basically, and then Miracle has two questions. You're also asking, must I already have a publication before my MSc by research? I keep seeing publication on people's CV. Now, if you don't have a publication, that's fine. Just apply. I mean, don't let people's CV intimidate you. Okay, just apply. The Miracle, when they say official transcript, your school will send it again. Okay, so the school can send official transcript as many times as possible. As many times as possible. So that's not a problem, as many times as possible. Let's come back to Twitter quickly. If you've not asked a question, Crypto Cool Guy, you can quickly ask your question. Crypto Cool Guy. Crypto Cool Guy. Okay, Crypto Cool Guy is not ready. Oluwa Tade, you can ask your question quickly.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, hello.
Happy New Month, everybody.
Yeah.
Actually, the last person asked my question. So I was about asking, I studied microbiology in my undergraduate, and ever since I've been in business. since 22, and this is almost 10 years now. And I want to do a business related grad program. And I've been wondering how I'll tailor my CV, tailor my SOP to fit in for such programs.
Yeah, so I don't think that will also be a problem. It's just the same. I know someone who did physics and had to come and do a master's in business administration, MBA. Okay, the guy had a first class in physics. Now he just switched to MBA. Okay, so people do it. People do those things in masters in business and all those things, public administration and all those stuff. So it's very, very, very possible. Just as I've said, mention what you have done, business aspect of it, or whatever. Why you are into business, why you want to do this course, and all the same principle applies. Same principle applies. All right, Ebony, let's quickly have your question. Ebony, let's quickly have your question.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello. Okay, welcome to the new month.
Yeah,
Happy Independence of Nigeria. Yeah, my question is on the SOP. How do we tailor the cost-based SOP? Because a lot of SOPs that is clear and from what we've spoken about today is on the thesis-based SOP. That's if you are going for a cost-based program.
Okay.
Then secondly, I would also want to know if it's mandatory for a low GCPA to go for only course-based program, or you can also go for a research-based program for your master's. Thank you.
Okay, Bolwatfe, in 2 minutes, can you quickly just summarize an answer for her? Okay, let me just quickly talk about it. So basically, you can, if you are doing a course based, what you want to talk about is the teaching, right? Is the professors, the teaching of the professors. You don't really have much to say about research because you are not expected to do research and all those stuff. Just course based, talk about that. And again, if you have a low CGPA, it does not stop you from doing thesis based. You can actually do a thesis based research. It does not stop you. A lot of people with low CGPA are doing thesis based program, and it's not a problem. Okay, so you can actually do it. You can actually do it. From YouTube here, someone saying is talking about Mitchell. Mitchell, if you are still here, someone is trying to link you from YouTube. She said she would like to connect with you, but your message box is not on Twitter. Probably you have locked your DM. So, Mitchell, if you can open your DM for this person to quickly reach you, that will be fine. That'll be fine. All right, we are rushing. We are rushing. We are 20 minutes beyond. I'll take one last question from Iman Official. Iman Official. Last question. Yeah.
Good day. Yeah, my question is, thank you very much for your time, actually. My question is, like, I was unable to connect earlier with the program. So please, I don't know if you could visibly do, like, a recap, like, for what our SOPs really needed to be entailed, like maybe the first paragraph, what is really needed, and stuff. So that's just basically my question.
Okay. I will do a recap and I will tell you how you can get access to the recording so that you can listen to it yourself again. So last question, let me pick the last question from YouTube too. You are saying, someone is saying, currently doing masters in Nigeria but want to apply for a PhD. How do I explain the gap since August? That is, you started masters in August, hence you have a gap from August to March. I think those few months are not really, that's not really a problem. Okay, just talk about things you've been doing, things you can do. I gave the example of someone, I mean, said the same thing in response to the guy who has a gap from 2015. If you can't do anything, if you can't volunteer or do anything, just mention those things you have done in the university, those things you have done up to 2015. All right, just to recap, this is everything we have said. Your SOP, and I read my wife's SOP. You can always get the recording on YouTube. What we have explained is that your paragraph 1 is talking about the statement, problem statement, or how you became interested in the field. your story, how you became interested in the field, or the problem statement, as the case may be. Your paragraph 2, you want to start talking about what you have done about it, what you studied, the research experience you've gained, the skills you've gained, along the line, the experiences you've had. That can be paragraph 2. Sometimes it can become too long. You break it to 2 and 3. Now, paragraph 3 or 4, we have to talk about the course you want to go and do now, why you are interested in it. Why you are interested in it. That's like paragraph 3 or 4. Why are you interested in the course you want to do? What's special about it? The research of the professors was. I mentioned the fact that you mentioned research facilities in the schools, mentioned the research work of the professors, mentioned things that attracted you to the school. And I gave my example that I talked about the magnetic lab at FSU. There's the highest magnetic powered lab in the world. I mentioned those facts in my SOP. Now, the next paragraph, you want to talk about your future goals, what you want to do after you graduate, why do you need a BS, an MSc, a PhD? What do you want to do with it? You want to help the country, you want to help the world, you want to help whatever. Those are just the basic component. What do you call it? Paragraph that you have, five or so paragraph that you have in your SOP. And I mentioned the fact that you should include your skills, relevant volunteering experiences, include it there. And I talked about the fact that there's a guy, some skills you don't think are necessary that are even important. I was reviewing this guy's SOP from Ghana, and he included the fact that yes, he can do graphics design because sometimes and many times we need designing in the lab. Someone needs to design a poster. Someone needs to design what do you call it now? You want an announcement for people to know what's going on and all those stuff. And the guy included in his SOP that he can do graphics design, and I was impressed just reading it there because I have not even thought about it in that light. Even though I discovered that even while I'm doing posters, trying to make posters for conferences, I need those designing skills, and some people laugh at my design sometimes. So sometimes you may need that. So talk about those things in your SOP. And I mentioned the fact the introductory SOP is very important. Let me read my wife's introductory SOP again to use this as a close. Our introductory SOP, which is the introductory paragraph rather, which is very important. I will read paragraph 1 and 2 again. So if you missed it, so that you can listen to it and see how beautiful it is and how you can make it connect to each other and do that for yourself too. She wrote, I was born and raised in Nigeria, a country where proper waste management is still a very big problem. This meant everyone is inevitably exposed to waste and contaminants in one form or the other. According to Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation data report, most of the highest ranked causes of death and disability adjusted life years in Nigeria are related to environmental risk factors. The adverse effect of these environmental contaminants on the health and well-being of the populace became of great concern to me. Paragraph 2, she wrote, I became more passionate about the effect of environmental contaminants on human health during the 3-month industrial training program I underwent after my third year as an undergraduate student. One of our weekly routines was to test the quality of water samples across the water treatment plant. High level of heavy metals in water samples from the river has been detected using atomic absorption spectrophotometric method. This was traced to the indiscriminate disposal of chemicals and other toxic substances into the river, which is a primary source of water for many people in that community. This is just one of the many ways humans are exposed to environmental toxicants. And after she wrote that, she went on in paragraph 3 to talk about the research she has done in the university, which is also another form of environmental toxicant, artificial sweetener, and all those things. And she was able to build that upon each other. Each paragraph built upon each other till she had something very beautiful. In fact, an advisor, when she was reading the SOP, sent her a message that, hey, I'm reading your SOP presently. That was when she made an application then. So, and that's one of the things we established here, that you can create a relationship with a potential advisor. Write them the code emails. I have I have a code email, a video I made on code email. Let me see if I can quickly share it on this page before we end. So let me start by thanking everyone for coming in today. Thank you for joining in. Uh, you all show that you are very passionate about what you want to do. You by coming here to join this session. All right, I just added the code email. Um, the video I made on code email. You can check it on this part. And also, Bolwatife, thank you for joining in too. I think you messaged me that you have some things to contribute, and if I love to have you, like, and I messaged you like 3 or 4 days ago if you'll be available today, and then you said yes, you'll be available. Thank you so much for joining in. For everyone who joined in, who asked questions, who spoke, who contributed in one form or the other. Thank you for joining in. I wish we could be able to do this for more than this time and answer all of your questions, but it's just not possible to answer all of your questions. We just have to end this session. But all the same, thank you. People on YouTube are saying thank you to everyone on Twitter too. And I believe those on Twitter are saying thank you to those on YouTube. All right. Yeah, there will be other sessions. Someone is asking for another session on YouTube. There will be other sessions. We have many other sessions that will come up. Many things we still have to discuss because it can't just be a one-off thing. It has to be a regular thing where we build on what we have been doing. All right, thank you. God bless you. Real good. Have a nice time. For those of us in Nigeria, happy Independence Day to us. I really pray that Nigeria truly experience the freedom and independence that we are talking about in the real sense and the proper form as it's meant to be. Amen. Thank you. God bless you. Real good.